And welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys formula and America's Medicare Associates with Millen Baker and Scott Kirshner. 419-794-3030 is how you reach out to the team, 419-794-3030, or go online to americasretirementheadquarters.com. When somebody sees the losses in a 401k or IRA, as many of us have seen in 2022, anxiety can set in, and the anxiety, I can imagine, would be even higher for a retiree. Psychologist and financial author Frank Murtha says much of it is caused by a feeling of losing control of our investments.
Let's face it, we don't have that kind of control over our investments. Markets do what they do. The Fed raises rates. We don't have the ability to decide these things. So we have to focus on what we can control. And that's where a good financial advisor will help the person do that. And that helps get people comfortable enough so that they can begin to make the decisions they need to.
That's a very familiar saying for a lot of people who are longtime listeners of the show. Control what you can control. Guys, how do you help lessen clients' anxieties in this period of uncertainty?
I would agree. You got to start back with focus on what you can and what you can't control. One of our most popular events is our semi-annual economic update, where people want to come out and hear, what we have to say about what happened in the market and what our outlook is, whether it's, midterm elections or whether it, is COVID in this environment. People want that outlook. And one of the things that I'll always say is, here's what our opinion is. But at the end of the day, the market doesn't care what our opinion is. So as an investor, there are things that you could focus on. There's keys to be successful in making smart decisions, as you move into retirement time. And there's ways on how to help to avoid retirement anxiety. First of all, focus on what you can control. You can control how much money you have in predictable income. You can control how much you get in dividends and interest by investment selection process. You can control how much you receive and benefits from picking the right coverage and knowing what your deductibles are. You can control the fees and expenses that you pay. You can control the amount of taxes that you pay. As an example, I had met with somebody last week, and they had come in and they had showed me their tax return. They received an inheritance, didn't really get any advice on it, and ended up with a $37,000 tax bill.
Wow.
Because they just cashed in all the accounts that they had as the inheritance, and they were obviously shocked the fact that they didn't, realize that they had owed so much in taxes.
And that's definitely uncontrollable right there.
It was. So had they sat down and talked with a tax professional, talked with, somebody besides just filling out the paperwork and sending it in, they had multiple other decisions that could have been made. So, focus on what you can control. One of the mistakes that I would tell you to avoid is people will watch their investment portfolio go down in value. They'll feel out of control, so they'll go in and they'll change it to something dramatically different, meaning maybe they go to cash until things look better. That is making a decision so you feel like you're getting control back, but that can be a painful lesson to make those type of decisions. So that's where I think it's a good idea to have somebody that kind of walks you through, and obviously why I'm biased, it's good to work with a financial and a healthcare professional when making those important decisions. Number two, get educated. Find out what your choices and what your options are. We have a lot of people that come out to our Baby Boomer Classics that we teach. We have people that come out to our economic summits. We have events that we have that allow people to get educated. In fact, we have an entire YouTube category and library available for you. If you haven't subscribed to our library, whether it's investing in a bear market, having anxiety when the market goes down, or what steps you should take now, we probably have a great video to help educate you on that decision. If you go to YouTube, just go into YouTube, type America's Retirement Headquarters, punch that subscribe button. You can go ahead and click on the link in our below section, and then you can learn about that. You can learn about what your different options are. And finally, when it comes to the investment part, I would say stress test your plan. So if things do get worse, how worse could it get with the plan that you have today? And are there steps that you could take to kind of minimize the overall approach?
Nolan, I was a softball coach, soccer coach, and one of the things I always would say is only worry about the things you can control. And there's only two controllables at that point. You rattled off several controllables in investments. One of the other controllables is making sure that you get educated, like you said, with your health plan. Reach out to a healthcare advisor. I'm meeting next week here with a client, and they called up and they said that they're bringing in their dad, and they said, well, he's paying $2,000. And I thought, well, $2,000, that's not too bad, for someone his age. That's not a bad price. They said, no, that's $2,000 a quarter. And I go, $2,000 a quarter? That's $8,000 a year. What in the world? And they said, well, he reached out to his current advisor, and they said, you're better off just keeping it where it's at. I'm like, that's nuts, because I can guarantee you that you're going to save a great deal of money. There's a situation where somebody hasn't really educated themselves on all of the different options available out there. They were referred to me by someone that I do business with, and I'm excited for that appointment. I mentioned something else. My daughter was home from I've talked about her before. She graduated from college, and now she's got a big girl job. She's working on her own. She's off of daddy's payroll. And she was talking this past week when she was home for Thanksgiving. She was talking about her paycheck. And she says, oh, my gosh, they're taking all this money out. And my wife and I said, for what? And he said, well, the investments. I said, well, that's a good thing, right? I told you and advised you that that's something you should do. And as we were sitting there talking, we were saying, well, yeah, we lost X number of dollars. And her eyes got real big, and she looked at us like, you guys lost that much money? She says, I hope I make that much money, in the next year or whatever. But there's a situation where some young investor is leaning on advice from, obviously, her dad, and I'm giving her advice on that. But, you have to learn all of your options as well. And like you always talk about your stress test, I love the way you guys do that. I've seen it happen, and it's a pretty cool feature. So, like you said, Nolan, with the health insurance, make sure that you at least talk to someone, educate yourself on your different options that are available to you, because you could be spending far more money than you need to. And, you want to make sure that you avoid that anxiety, especially when it comes time to retirement.
It's very easy whenever something goes slightly awry, whether it is in sports, or whether it is certainly in the financial realm when you're looking at your portfolio. If something goes wrong, to start second guessing, to start having that doubt creep in, and that is when that emotion takes place, and that is when that anxiety takes place, and that is when a lot of mistakes happen. But if you have a proper plan put in place, if you stick to the plan, know that these are things that you've accounted for. The market's going to fluctuate, taxes are going to go up, healthcare is going to be an issue down the line. If you account for all that, through proper education, of course, knowing all the different variables out there, it can help keep those voices, keep that anxiety, hopefully at bay. But to get started, like I said, you need to create that plan, and that's what the team at America's Retirement Headquarters can help you with. You just have to take the first step and give a call, 419-794-3030, or you can go online to the website, americasretirementheadquarters.com.